Ladies and gentlemen, I'm well aware of the fact that at the moment almost everybody is more interested in something that is seemingly more important. Be it the landing of a space robot on Mars today, Corona crisis, or overdue appointments at the hairdressers. Nevertheless, I dare to remind you of the fact that in these days, as we are facing new challenges and need to find new solutions, there is still an issue yet that concerns each of us, that troubles quite a few of us, and that needs to be addressed by all of us. I am talking about the growing number of people who have been seeking shelter and help here in Germany, who've brought their customs, their traditions, and their religion, and whose arrival has, only in a few decades, been changing German society towards a multicultural society. Well, some might argue that this country has never been a country of immigrants. Respectively, a multicultural society, but I'm sorry to say that they are mistaken. Elaborating on this issue would take too long, but just let me remind you of the fact that right after the end of World War II, there was a huge wave of displaced persons from the eastern provinces of the former Deutsches Reich who were desperately looking for some shelter, a bed to sleep in, a place to work, a word of welcome. But too often they were just eyed with suspicion and hatred, and they had to go through hard times before they finally were tolerated and accepted by the local people. Similar things have happened before and after the break of the wall, when Western Germany experienced a very special kind of migration, which had not been triggered off by a war, but rather was the consequence of a highly suppressive political system in the East. I'm speaking of the numerous East Germans who are looking for a future for themselves and their families, for freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom to travel in the western part of this country. Most of them managed to cope with the new situation. Most of them started a new life. But it was far from being easy, and probably quite a few of them were confronted with prejudice at the beginning and had to prove that they deserved living there. But who actually deserves living here? Who is a perfect match? Is it those who look like us, who behave like us, who share the same values and beliefs? In other words, who adapt themselves quickly and quietly? And yet, there's another successful immigration. An immigration with a different face. The older ones among you will remember, it was the 50s, when the first cheap laborers from Turkey arrived in Western Germany. Meanwhile, they belong to the society, and there's nobody in Dortmund or Bochum who watches them with suspicion. Rather, the people enjoy the kebab place around the corner, and likewise, they love Italian pizza, Greek tzatziki, and Polish geese. And sometimes they even treat themselves into a Thai massage. All these people came to this country for different reasons. They've brought color into our lives. They've broadened our horizons. They have enriched our life in many, many ways. Not to forget, they often do the work, the dirty jobs that we try to avoid. But what about those who seem to bring nothing but themselves, like our grandparents from 75 years ago? Do they have no right to get a new chance in our country? No right to find a shelter? No right to get a bed to sleep in? A place to work? A warm welcome? Obviously not. Events from our recent past have shown us that prejudice has prevailed, that prejudice has even grown and is gaining more popularity in this difficult time. What we have been experiencing these days sounds incredible indeed. Prejudice and hate in an open and democratic society against those who are different but who want to belong. Prejudice and violence in a country that has quite a few experiences with immigration and migration itself. Prejudice and racist murder in a country that is prospering and that could give everybody a fair chance. Prejudice has prevailed. Full of shame, we remember the cruel actions of the NSU, which started some 21 years ago. Disconcertingly, these originated from a group of young people who, as citizens of the former GDR, had experienced prejudice and discriminations themselves. Prejudice has prevailed. When the people in my home village, Marbach, learned in 2015 that a mosque was to be built just around the corner, there was an uproar. An uproar by those who love to make holidays in Turkey and who regularly donate money to the people in war-stricken Syria and Afghanistan. Some of them even claim to be devoted Christians. Prejudice has prevailed. Exactly 1 year ago, on the 19th of February 2020, in the city of Hanau, a cruel racist murder of 10 people was committed, which left the nation deeply shook, ashamed and irritated. All this happened in a part of our country which was supposed to have some experience with a multifaceted, a multicultural society. Have we been all mistaken? I'm afraid we have. But we can learn from our mistakes. It's not too late. It just needs the courage to make a new start. A new start that begins with the understanding that it is the time to think more globally. Time to understand that the world is a global village. Time to understand that even a place like Marbach needs to open to the world. But speaking of the world as a village, a global village, also means that there must be communication like in a village. We must show more interest in each other. We must not accept ethnic neighborhoods any longer that seclude themselves. We need to make more encounters with our neighbors. We need to take the initiative to fight prejudice, fear and hate. We need to say yes to an increasingly globalized world, to a multicultural Germany. So tear down the invisible fences that separate us from each other. Tear down the invisible walls and welcome the idea of multiculturalism. At the moment, We may be more interested in the news that mankind is exploring Mars. But at the same time, we must not forget that all around the globe, people are struggling with global problems. Corona just being one of them. Yet shared problems need common efforts to overcome them. So why not solve these problems together? Our yes to this kind of togetherness, to a multicultural society in Germany, could be the first step in that direction. Mankind has always been dreaming about exploring space. Why not start with exploring the different neighborhoods around us? It's time to understand, to accept, to appreciate. It's time to act. Now. Thank you very much.